Hello, my name is Christopher Franz, and this morning I'm talking to Ryan Sheridan. He's running for Congress. Ryan, tell us about yourself.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I am in fact running for Congress here in Missouri in the second congressional district, what will be the new second congressional district as the state's redistricting. Born and raised in St. Louis and in Kirkwood specifically. I'm a nurse practitioner, entrepreneur. I run my own practice and really excited to bring home freedom and liberty to the U.S. House and ditch an incumbent who's entrenched in big pharma, Wall Street, and does not work for the American people and is a self-serving member of Congress.
So, is that why you decided you needed to run? Just you needed to unseat the self serving incumbent? Or is there any specific reason you felt you needed to run for Congress right now?
That's part of it. I mean, it's part of the calculation. If the current representative was in touch with the district and really in touch with, I would consider the right half of Americans, then I don't think that this campaign would be possible. But on a more personal level, working in healthcare, I see the disaster that healthcare has become and how it's not serving our people. And I believe I have the tools and the understanding policy wise and from a clinical perspective to make some positive changes there.
So, would your main goals be healthcare focused then? Are you trying to come to office with multiple different policy ideas, or are you just trying to mainly focus on healthcare?
There's a couple of policies that'll be rolling out: policy for housing, policy for healthcare, policy for energy. But most importantly, I mean, none of this matters really if we don't tackle the financial insolvency that our country is facing.
I completely agree with that. You mentioned something about like the current incumbent not being really in touch with the right side of America or
Mhm.
whatnot. I noticed on Ballotpedia for 2024, the incumbent had Donald Trump endorsement, and right now for 2026, it looks like Trump has also endorsed your incumbent.
Mhm.
So, do you feel Trump's not on the right side, or what are your feelings about that?
A couple of things. Uh, Trump, when he learns about me, I think will have a change of face, a change of heart. Secondarily, the last cycle, 2024, Trump was on the ticket. Trump is not on the ticket with this cycle, so I think it changes things dramatically. My opponent is not a MAGA, not an America First Republican. If you look at her record, she's consistently voted against many MAGA America First principles, and so the voters that turn out for her are not the same voters that are going to turn out for Trump, and are not the same voters that are going to turn out for me. Additionally, her lack of being in touch with the district is quite loud, not just with Republicans, but also Democrats and independents. In the state being an open primary, we have an opportunity to pick up some votes that she could otherwise not capitalize on because the race has really become the primary is the race. The general election is not a competitive race. So if folks are interested in new leadership within our district, Democrat, Republican, Independent, they can get on board with this campaign.
I also noticed, I believe it was in 2024, that there was a libertarian trying to run in
Hmm.
your district. So are you also going to try to get the libertarian vote? Like, are you more of a libertarian conservative? Are you more of a constitutional conservative? Where do you lie, and who are you trying to really gain as your base, per se?
Sure. That's a good question, and one that now more than ever seems to be like, what kind of Republican are you? Because the Republican brand is becoming what I hope to be is more of a tent party than we have in the past. Uh, I have there are libertarian strains in me. There are certainly constitutional strains in me as well. Where I intend to focus, I think, is something that most people get on board with, which is the federal budget and deficit is untenable. Americans spend too much of their income on housing and healthcare, and the American dream for younger generations is out of reach for many. I mean, that is a reality that many Republicans don't like to acknowledge, but it is true. And the only way for our country to have a reasonable path forward is if we allow the American dream to be more in reach for people, say, under 40. It's unrealistic for a country to have a sustainable future if the younger generations don't own anything. And so those are my priorities, and I think that really encompasses a large swath of whether you're libertarian, constitutionalist, consider yourself a Trumper, consider yourself a non-Trumper. That's something that those are just objective realities that we need to grapple with. And the Republican Party, I believe, has the answers, but we have to have the stomach to address it.
So let's say you do get elected to Congress. Are you going to come in supporting more or less the party line? Are you going to back the party leaders? Because right now, a lot of the time, the Republican Party leaders, they don't actually try to lower the debt. They don't work on the deficit. They just push whatever their donors say. And then majority of the Republicans just fall in line and vote for this spending bill or omnibus bill
Right.
or whatever. So
Right.
if that came down to you and you were that deciding vote, yes or no, and Trump's screaming at you, how are you going to vote?
Yeah, and that's what we're seeing sort of play out, where the vast majority of Republicans are not particularly conservative, and many of them campaign on financial responsibility, and then completely do the exact opposite. I think that changes if there's a larger percentage of Republicans who actually are moored to their principle of financial responsibility as a core tenet of their candidacy and office. Then I think that becomes easier to make sure that we can establish some sort of federal spending limits, reducing the likelihood of increasing the debt ceiling, et cetera, et cetera. One something that I think is palatable for many people, and something that I'm pushing for and will be a policy, is let's start here. Let's say we're going to have a spending freeze, 100% across the board spending freeze for the federal government, and work back from there. It's difficult for folks to start with, where are we going to cut? Where are we going to, let's just press the pause button today and see where we need to make cuts in a methodical fashion. That's not radical. That's not saying we're not going to serve our needs of our people. That's not saying all these cuts are going to be dramatic and that people are going to lose access to what have you, or our defense budget is going to be slashed. Those things might happen, to be honest. But the first step is pausing and saying, no more spending. We're not going up tomorrow. We're not going up more. The next day, we're not going up more. We're pausing until we have a complete plan in place to get our federal budget balanced and the deficit under control.
With you mentioned spending and everything, one of the issues a lot of people have with campaigns is being able to outspend the incumbent. I mean, just looking it up, your opponent last election spent over $3 million.
Mm-hmm.
So do you feel that you're going to be able to compete with political opponents that are able to spend $3 million? And if she sees you as a threat, it says she has $3+ million cash on hand, she might be willing to drop even more against you.
Sure. Yeah. That energizes me. David versus Goliath. David versus Goliath is my motto here. And the reality is, that's all dirty money. Most of it's PAC money from Wall Street, big pharma, health insurance industry. I mean, industries that are completely out of lockstep with the American people. When my message is delivered to constituents and voters, it resonates. I see this happen. There's not a dollar campaign that can actually overcome that. And I am going to be, as I already am, out in the district, meeting with voters in a grassroots fashion that the current representative has never been able to do effectively, doesn't want to do, and quite frankly, won't have the time to do, because I have 11 months to make this case while she's in Washington at her lobbyist dinners, et cetera. So it'll be a grassroots from the ground up. We are going to be outspent. I really don't give a damn that we're going to be outspent. Trump was outspent 4-1. I mean, money isn't everything in politics anymore. And the consultancy class that has corrupted the game of politics, the business of politics, it's a big money pit that you can spend a lot of money and really not do much. And actually, we've seen that from my opponent. We have seen that consistently. Lots of money spent, not a lot of output. We'll see a traditional campaign, and I have tricks up my sleeve, and I'm excited to get to going.
You say you're out there talking to people on the ground. They resonate with your message, that you believe they're going to vote for you. How many people do you think you can gather in this next 11 months? The last couple of elections, it seems to be about 80,000 to 90,000 people total showing up for the primary elections, with
Hmm.
Anne winning about 60, 64 to 67% of the vote. Do you feel that when you go out talking to people that you have more than 67% support?
My calculus is we don't need 67%. We need 50% plus one, and I think that's very doable, especially if you looked at the last couple primary cycles that were one opponent and reasonable. I mean, the last primary election, the opponent raised $4,500 and got 30 some odd thousand votes to her 56,000 votes and 1.5 million. So there is a floor there. There is a palpable dislike for the incumbent, um, and the calculus is we really think we need to be around an additional 10,000 votes, and I think we can get those a lot of ways. The district is largely new. Geographically, we're talking about an 80% new district. I'm going to be all around the district. I can run up the tallies in these 80-20 districts, or excuse me, counties that went for 80% Trump, 20% Harris, and these are deeply America First voters. These are not traditional Republican voters, of which my opponent is. So we'll have a lot of opportunity there. Additionally, being an open primary, my message is going to resonate with young folks, regardless of political ideology. And my message is going to resonate with independents and disaffected Democrats. So if I can get just a few of those in those categories to come out, then we'll be in a good spot.
So, you say open primary, your message, if your message can get out to some disaffected Democrats or whatnot, why not run as an independent? Why are you running as a Republican?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have always found my home to be in the Republican Party, because it's where, I might not agree with everything, but the majority of what I believe has a home somewhere in the Republican Party. Now, I do have an independent streak in me, and that I'm willing to cross the aisle to talk about things that Republicans don't typically talk about, like the reality that Wall Street, it doesn't have Americans' best interest, and the pharmaceutical and health industry aren't serving our people well. Those have traditionally been sort of Democrat talking points, but I consider myself to be a candidate of the working class. I'm not afraid to go in places where I may not be welcome, and have difficult conversations. So the reason I am choosing to run as a Republican is because I think most of the ideas in traditional conservatism are the solution. But the Republican Party has obviously divulged from some of those traditional conservative principles. And specifically, I'm talking economics, because something that's maybe a bit different for me is running as a Republican who also happens to be gay. I do get a little pushback from the community, questioning whether that's a palatable option. And I say absolutely, because conservatism means the government shrinks, the economics of our country rise, and that helps everybody.
Um, I had no clue that you were gay. No, doesn't matter to me. My only response though is right now it seems like there's a push for gay marriage to be overturned at the Supreme Court. What are your feelings about that?
I do not think it happens. If it happens, I mean, I would obviously be opposed to that. I would like the government to be out of marriage entirely. It should be a private matter between you and the person you're marrying and the church that's marrying you. It should not be a government sponsored contract. But if it is, every person should have the right to marry whomever they would like within reason. Obviously, they need to be a consenting adult. But um, so I think it would be a disaster for the country in terms of the progress in rights for our country, and would have negative consequences when we start overturning large swaths of people. If we pull that back, I think it would be disastrous. But I also want to caveat: I don't think that's even a possibility. I think the administration has the highest ranking member in the cabinet who's gay. So I'm not really concerned with that. I think it's a scare tactic the left uses to try to mobilize voters in support.
it is a scare tactic, and the sad reality is it's even a scare tactic that the Republican establishment might try to use against you in this upcoming primary.
Yeah.
So, do you feel that you're prepared to be able to handle that?
Yeah, I'm not concerned at all. I think the vast majority of Americans, I mean, we're talking about well over 50% of Americans believe that it should be it's settled, that they don't have an issue with it. There are going to be some folks that decide not to vote for me for that reason, but I bet you those folks weren't going to vote for me anyway because they're much more traditional Republican, which is not really the message that I'm bringing to the table. And so they would probably be loyal to the traditional incumbent candidate, the deeply entrenched sort of lobbyist, big pharma candidate that is my opponent.
So far, I don't believe I have really any more questions. This was just more a quick, basic conversation, get to know you, let you spread your message, tell people why you're trying to run. Is there anything you'd like to specifically state?
Cool. I certainly appreciate the time. Uh, I'm happy to talk to anybody and anybody. Happy to talk again. For people that want to know more, they can head to my website at sheridanformo.com. That's MO as in the state of Missouri. And follow me on X, Instagram, and Facebook.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation with me. I had a great conversation. Do you have any questions?
Yeah. So tell me kind of your focus with the podcast and your objectives with what you're doing.
Well, so more or less, in 2024, again, there was the huge push. Donald Trump's running for re-election, and it's like, okay, cool, he's going to get elected, but if we look at 2016, the entire Republican Party more or less worked against him. They more or less worked behind the scenes to help the Democrats, and then Trump lost, Biden came in, the Republicans more or less just helped protect Biden and again pushed the Democrats' agenda. And now Trump was running again, and it was just like, cool, if we want to elect him, we can't re-elect all of those same exact people to Congress because it hasn't worked out like the last 8 years. So we need to try to elect new people to Congress. And so more or less I was looking into a way to try to figure it out. And, you know, independent expenditure committee allows me to more or less campaign for or against any candidate I see fit to. And so it was like, yeah, I don't care about basically party ideology, Democrat, Republican, Libertarian. I'm tired of it. It's just causing more divide. We need a system that's not trying to prop up just the party's candidate, but just saying, hey, these are all the people that are trying to run for office. Let them have a chance to spread their message. Let the people choose instead of just basically, here's the Republican Party dumping $100 million behind their
Yes.
candidates, and then versus the Democrats doing the same, and then the Libertarians, the Independents, the just random people who just are unaffiliated trying to run have no money, no support, and no nothing. And it's just, okay, well, if we want to see change, we need to actually try to get those people's messages out there because they're running for a reason.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, the two-party system that really has become the uniparty is a threat to our American project for sure. Everything you said, I agree with. And the reality is, if we don't have some accountability at the congressional level, it really doesn't even matter who's president. It doesn't matter. It all ends up being fake. And the fact that both parties obviously work in tandem and seek to maintain power should tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah, so I'm just tired of the game, and I'm just trying to allow people like you to have a chance to actually spread their message.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, if there's anything I can do to help, you let me know, and I'd be happy to have a conversation again in the future.
Well, I'm sure we will definitely have a conversation again in the future, especially as the primaries heat up and get closer to the actual election date. But
Cool.
thank you again so much for taking the time to talk to me. And if you'd like to shout out anything else one last time, please go for it.
Awesome. Yeah, just one more plug for the website, sheridanformo.com. Follow me on X, Instagram, Facebook, and I will hope to see y'all later.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, and thank you everyone for taking the time to listen. Have a great day.